Right, in this video we're going to talk about how to overwinter Ensete maurelii bananas. I've done videos on this in the past. I've done a couple of very in-depth videos of overwintering Ensete maurelii, mainly the dry way of doing that, and I'll put the links to those videos in the comments below in the description. And also I've done videos of overwintering it in the greenhouse. So let's just run through the easy ways of overwintering and pros and cons of each way. The best way is if you had the space, you would have your maurelii out in the garden all year round, but that's not really a suitable way of trying to overwinter them in the UK and Northern Hemisphere gardens, mainly because they'll die of rot or freeze in winter. You can overwinter them in the ground in selected spots. Central London, Cornwall can do it on mild winters when it's not too wet as well. But basically it's so risky, it's not worth trying anywhere really, unless you definitely know you've got a really warm microclimate. So you've got to dig them up. And to dig them up, you can dig it up as a plant and cut around the root ball, plant it in a pot with compost like you would, and treat it as a house plant and bring it in the house. Now you've got a lot of minuses of doing that. If you do that, it means you can have this great big plant in your house and you need a space for it. It needs good light, it needs a big enough pot for the root ball, it needs to be watered, it needs to be maintained. You often get loads of greenfly, there are greenfly magnets in winter in the house, so you might have this sort of sad depressive plant taking up loads of room and getting loads of pests on it, which you don't really want. They can also drip a lot from the leaves as well, called guttation, which can spoil upholstery, etc. So that's an option, but it's not really an option if you've got a big plant. If you've got a small plant, then perhaps it's a good option. When I say a small plant, I'm talking one that won't grow, more than 1 metre or 2. Because anything bigger than that, obviously, you don't want in your house, really. If you've got a conservatory, on the other hand, you can dig it up. If it's a heated conservatory, all the better, and then you can have that in overwinter. It's got plenty of light, it'll be warm enough, long to keep it, heated, and that can grow as a plant all winter. The trouble you'll find is, again, you'll have the aphids and other pests, and possibly when you put it out in next spring, all the leaves will be really weak because they've grown indoors, and they'll all be lost as soon as they have a bit of wind and outdoor weather on them. But it's still a good option if you've got a conservatory. The most common way of overwintering them, and perhaps the easiest way, is to dry store them. And what that means is basically cutting off all the roots, cutting off most of the leaves, and drying them out. So no compost over winter, just literally washing everything off. Again, links, check out the older videos to show how this works. And then you can have this in anywhere in your house. You could have it in a room, you can have it in a cupboard, you can have it in a loft, you can have it in a cellar, you can have it in an attached garage somewhere frost free, because you do not want it to go freezing or close to freezing ideally. It wants to be above 5 degrees, but 20-25 degrees it still works. You might get a leaf or two growing over winter, even though it's got no roots and you're not watering it, but it doesn't damage the plant unless it's really starting to motor and grow. The higher temperatures. Obviously, the things stopping plants growing are lack of water, lack of light, and lack of heat. So dry storing is a really good way of doing that. The only thing I would say is if it's a small Ensete maurelii, so if you can't get your hands around basically the stem, the trunk, the pseudostem, as it's rightly called, then it's probably too small to dry store. Could come through winter fine, but it might take a long time to get going in spring because it's so small, it's not got the moisture content to keep it going over winter. So it needs to be a bigger plant really to dry store, but it means you don't have to deal with diseases, you don't have to deal with water. You can just store it somewhere, like I said, in the cellar or in the attic or a cupboard or somewhere. It doesn't need any light, and you can forget about it until spring. So that is an easy way of doing it. You will still get a few losses. It's basically like if you stored apples. You can pick up apples this time of year, store them throughout the winter and spring, and eat them when you want them. If you do that, sometimes some will go bad, you'll get a bruise, rot will set in, and the apples will, not be palatable. Same with onset bananas. If you had a bit of damage, if you've dug it up and you've hit it on the ground by accident, it's got a bit of bruising, over winter it could rot away. So it's something to be mindful of. It's not 100% certain that you'll get it through winter that way, but it is a pretty tried and tested way of doing that. The other way, if you've got a small banana, you do need to keep it going over winter, is to, like I said, treat it as a house plant. You can have it in a heated greenhouse, that's fine as well. You can have it in a conservatory as mentioned, but you don't really want that in a really dark place if you're trying to keep it growing and going with the roots active and trying to grow. If you leave it in compost over winter as a plant trying to grow and it's got any moisture in the compost, or it keeps cold and damp somewhere, it will probably rot away anyway. So you either got to dry store it or you keep it going. There is a halfway house of having it in completely dry compost and at a decent temperature of, say, at least 10 degrees, but still pretty cool, like in a very cool room that doesn't get heated, or perhaps in an attached garage that's got heat from the house so it doesn't get anywhere near frost free. And if it's very dry, then that'll probably be fine. But it's best to either go completely dry or to keep it growing over winter. So I hope this video sort of explains how to winter onset bananas. Like I said, check out the description links for the other videos showing dry storage and the other method in the greenhouse, and also the spring, how these can be woken up and grown and planted out. Hope you found this video meaningful and interesting and useful, and if you'd like to see more of my videos, including my weekly exotic gardening episodes, then please subscribe on this channel. Thanks for watching.